Diana thought she had it figured out. She was 34, organized, careful with money her whole adult life. Then one Tuesday in March, $50,000 landed in her checking account. An inheritance from her grandmother wired in a single quiet deposit. 19 months later, Diana had $4,118 left. No gambling, no shopping sprees. No obvious disaster you could point to. Every single decision she made felt responsible in the moment. A safer car, a small loan to her brother, a financial product, a professional recommended to her face. Researchers at the National Endowment for Financial Education estimate that about 70% of people who receive a sudden windfall lose it all within a few years. Diana became part of that 70% without ever feeling reckless. Here's what nobody tells you about your first $50,000. It doesn't get destroyed in one bad moment. It gets destroyed in the first 90 days, one reasonable-sounding decision at a time. And the defense takes less effort than anything else in personal finance. Your first $50,000 is the most dangerous money you will ever hold. Not because of what it can lose in a market, because of what it does to the people around you and to your own brain. The moment it arrives, everyone can suddenly hear it. The car salesman hears it. The financial advisor with the corner office hears it. Your family hears it. And the loudest voice of all is yours, whispering that $50,000 should finally do something visible. Here's the math that should scare you. That $50,000 left alone at an 8% average return becomes $503,133 in 30 years, without you adding another dime. Ever. So every dollar you peel off in the first 90 days isn't costing you $1. It's costing you $10. The $9,000 car down payment isn't $9,000. It's $90,563 of retirement money, gone before the new car smell fades. Most people never run that number. They just feel rich for one season, and then spend 19 months quietly confused about where it all went. And the window where the damage happens is brutally short. Studies of windfalls keep pointing at the same pattern. The biggest commitments get made in the first 3 months. After that, the money either has a structure around it, or it has a payment plan attached to it. There is a specific sequence that protects the money, and it starts with doing absolutely nothing. Before you dismiss it, hear this. Meet 2 women who hit the same number in the same month. Diana, 34, project coordinator, earning $68,000 a year. Carla, 32, logistics analyst, also earning $68,000 a year. Same city, same rent, same commute, give or take 10 minutes. In March, Diana inherited $50,000 from her grandmother. That same March, Carla crossed $50,000 in savings she had stacked over 6 years. 2 people, 2 piles of $50,000. Let's keep this fair. Neither of them was foolish. Neither of them bought lottery tickets or meme stocks. Both had college degrees, decent credit, and a budgeting app they mostly ignored. Both of them would have described themselves as careful. If you polled their friends, both would have been voted most likely to handle money well. The only difference between them on day one was that nobody had ever told either of them what $50,000 does to the people who hold it. Diana moved first. Week 1, she replaced her aging Corolla. The salesman shook her hand and called it an investment in her safety. $9,000 down, $541 a month for 72 months on a $34,000 SUV. Week 3, her brother needed $6,000 to cover a business shortfall. Family is family, so she wired it the same afternoon. Week 6, a financial advisor her coworker recommended sat her down in a glass office. He slid a glossy folder across the desk labeled Wealth Protection Strategy. It was a whole life insurance policy, $410 a month. He never mentioned that policies like that can pay the seller most of the first year's premiums as commission. Week 9, the kitchen. $7,400 on a renovation she had postponed for years. The contractor found water damage because contractors always find water damage. The $7,400 became $9,100 before the countertops arrived. By day 90, Diana had committed $24,100 of the $50,000 plus $950 in brand new monthly payments. Her checking account still showed a balance that felt substantial, which is exactly why she didn't feel the floor moving. Every single choice sounded like adult behavior. Her mother called her responsible. Her coworkers admired the SUV in the parking lot. Nothing felt like destruction because destruction almost never does. Now watch Carla, because her first 90 days are the entire lesson of this video. Carla did something that looked lazy from the outside, something her friends would have called overly cautious. If she had told them, which she didn't, nothing. She did absolutely nothing. For 90 days, the money sat in a high-yield savings account earning 4% while she made exactly 0 decisions. She told no one except her partner. When her phone buzzed with car ads, she deleted them. When a coworker mentioned a hot investment, she nodded politely and changed the subject. In those 90 days, the boring account quietly paid her about $500 in interest just for waiting. Her old Corolla kept running at 148,000 miles, the way Corollas insist on doing. Then, on day 91, she executed a sequence she had written on one piece of paper. 6 lines, no advisor, no folder. We'll walk through that exact sequence, dollar by dollar, in a moment. 5 years later, the scoreboard looked like this. Diana's SUV was worth $14,000 and she still owed $19,000 on it. She was underwater on her own safety. The whole life policy had eaten more than $24,000 in premiums and would pay her almost nothing if she canceled. Her brother had repaid $1,500 and stopped answering money texts. Carla's untouched $50,000 had grown past $73,000 on its way to $500,000, and she had added nothing to it beyond her normal monthly saving. Same salary, same city, same starting pile. The gap wasn't intelligence, luck, or income. The gap was the first 90 days, and the fact that only one of them knew the first 90 days were the whole game. Here's what nobody tells you about windfall money. Your brain files it in a different drawer than earned money. Behavioral economists call it mental accounting. Money labeled as a windfall gets spent faster and more casually than money labeled as salary. Same dollars, different drawer, different fate. That's why the first move is a freeze, not a plan. For 90 days, the money goes into a high-yield savings account and does not move. At 4%, $50,000 pays you about $500 just for those 3 months. Compare that to the national average savings account, which pays around 0.45%. That's about $56 for the same 90 days. The freeze isn't about the interest, though. It's about letting the emotional temperature of the money drop. Day 1, $50,000 feels like an event demanding a response. It sits in your brain like a fire alarm that won't stop. Day 90, it feels like infrastructure, a quiet piece of your life like the water heater. Nobody makes good decisions about an event. People make good decisions about infrastructure. The single cheapest upgrade in personal finance is converting your money from an event into infrastructure. And the only ingredient is time. The freeze also filters the crowd. Most of the bad ideas, the car, the loan, the glossy folder, need urgency to work. A salesman can survive your objections. He cannot survive your calendar. Give any pitch 90 days of silence and most of them die of natural causes. There's a second reason the freeze works, and it's about telling people. Diana announced her inheritance at a family dinner in week 1. By week 3, she had received 4 requests, 2 investment tips, and 1 guilt trip. Carla told one person. The requests she received totaled 0. Researchers who study windfalls keep finding the same thing. The more people who know about your money, the faster it leaves. Silence isn't secrecy, it's insulation. Write this down as Rule 1. The moment the money lands, it goes into a high-yield account, and your mouth goes into a low-yield mode. 90 days, that's the entire first move. It costs nothing, it pays about $500, and it filters out roughly 80% of the ways people destroy their first $50,000. Run the numbers on the 3 classic leaks. Leak 1, the car. A new $34,000 SUV loses roughly 20% of its value in year 1. That's $6,800 gone before the first oil change. By year 5, it's lost around 60%, roughly $2,400. Diana's safety investment was a wealth bonfire with seat warmers. Leak 2, the family loan. Surveys consistently find that a large share of loans to family and friends are never fully repaid. Diana's brother repaid $2,500 of the $6,000, then stopped mentioning it at dinners. She lost the money and paid for it twice. Once in dollars, once in awkward Thanksgivings. Leak 3, the upgrade cascade. A $7,400 kitchen invites a $2,000 dining table, which invites $900 lighting. Retailers call it the Diderot effect. One upgrade makes everything around it look shabby. And notice how each leak recruits the next one. The SUV needs the premium insurance, another $65 a month. The kitchen needs the table. The brother who got $6,000 has a friend who only needs $2,000. Money that moves once finds it easier to move again. Behavioral scientists call the first withdrawal a licensing event. Once the pile has been opened, every later withdrawal feels smaller by comparison. Diana's second decision was easier than her first, and her fourth barely registered as a decision at all. None of these leaks feel like destruction. Nobody stands in a kitchen showroom thinking, I'm setting fire to my retirement. Nobody wires money to a sibling thinking, this is the last full conversation we'll ever have about it. That's exactly why the 70% number stays at 70%, decade after decade, no matter how much financial content gets published. The destruction outsources itself to reasonable-sounding moments, and reasonable-sounding moments never trigger alarms. Here's the Day 91 sequence dollar by dollar in the exact order the math demands. Step 1, the emergency fund. 6 months of bare-bones expenses stays in that high-yield account. For most single earners, that's $15,000 to $18,000. This money's job is not growth. Its job is to make sure you never sell investments in a panic. Step 2, kill any debt charging over 7%. The average credit card charges around 22%. An $8,000 balance at 22% burns about $1,760 a year in interest. Paying that off is a guaranteed 22% return. No stock, no fund, no advisor can promise you 22%. You can with one boring transfer. Step 3, capture your full employer 401k match. A typical match pays 50 cents to $1 per dollar you contribute up to a limit. That's a 50 to 100% instant return. It is the only free money in American finance. Step 4, fill a Roth IRA. $7,000 this year if you're under 50. Money in a Roth grows tax-free for life. Step 5, everything left over goes into a plain, boring, total market index fund. Average fee, around 0.03%. No glossy folder required. Let's run Carla's actual numbers because she executed this exact list on Day 91. $16,000 stayed in the high-yield account as her emergency fund. She had no credit card debt, so Step 2 cost her nothing. She raised her 401k contribution to capture her full match, worth about $2,040 a year in free money she had been leaving on the table. $7,000 went into a Roth IRA the same afternoon. The remaining $27,000 went into a total market index fund, in 3 scheduled chunks over 3 months. Total time invested, 1 evening and 2 coffee breaks. Total fees paid to professionals, $0. Notice what's missing from this list. A new car, a kitchen, a brother-shaped hole, a single product with a commission attached. The sequence isn't secret. Every credible study of long-term wealth points at the same 5 steps, in roughly the same order. It's just unsellable. Nobody earns a commission when you follow it, so nobody sits you in a glass office to explain it. The most profitable financial plan you'll ever see fits on an index card, and that's precisely why no one is paid to hand you the card. Now let's talk about the glass office. The advisor who sold Diana that policy wasn't evil. He was expensive in a way she couldn't see. Whole life policies routinely pay the seller a large share of your entire first year of premiums as commission. Diana's $410 a month meant roughly $4,900 a year, flowing toward a product she didn't need. But the quieter cost is the fee on managed money. A typical advisor charges 1% of your assets every single year. 1% sounds like a tip. It compounds like a tax. $50,000 growing at 8% for 30 years becomes $533. The same $50,000 growing at 7% after that 1% fee becomes $386,613. The difference is $122,520. That's the price of the handshake. A quarter of your ending wealth traded for quarterly meetings and a branded coffee mug. Here's the question that saves you. Ask any advisor if they are a fiduciary at all times, in writing. A fiduciary is legally required to put your interest first. A salesperson is not, and many advisors are salespeople with better furniture. If the answer takes more than 1 sentence, you already have your answer. Most people never ask because the office is designed so you won't. The mahogany, the framed certificates, the assistant who offers you sparkling water. Every square foot whispers that questioning this man would be rude. Diana sat in that chair holding more money than she'd ever held, feeling like the amateur in the room. She was. That's why she was there. But the fix isn't becoming an expert. The fix is 1 sentence, asked out loud. Are you a fiduciary at all times? And will you put that in writing? Carla asked it once by email to an advisor a friend recommended. The reply was 4 paragraphs long. She read the first line, closed the laptop, and kept her $122,520. The folder is glossy, the office is glass, and for the 70% that money walks out the door in a firm handshake. There's a quieter way to destroy $50,000, and it looks like maximum safety. Leave it in checking. Maya, 28, did exactly that with her first $50,000. She wasn't spending it. She was protecting it, she told herself, somewhere she could see it. Her checking account paid 0.01%. Inflation was running near 3%, which means her safe money was silently losing about $2,500 of buying power every single year. Parked next to it, a high-yield account at 4% would have paid her about $2,000 a year. The gap between maximum safety and slight effort was $3,500 a year. Over 5 years, that's $17,500. A third of the original pile evaporated without a single bad decision. When Maya finally opened a high-yield account, the transfer took 11 minutes. She measured it. 11 minutes worth $3,500 a year. That's roughly $19,000 an hour, which makes it the best paid work of her entire life. The bank never called to suggest it. Of course it didn't. Banks have earned hundreds of billions of dollars off the gap between what your deposits earn them and what they pay you. When Maya finally visited a branch to ask about rates, the teller smiled and offered her a premium checking upgrade with a $20 monthly fee, waived if she kept $15,000 parked there. That's not a benefit. That's a toll booth with a loyalty program. Your patience is their product and your inertia is their business model. Move the money. 11 minutes. Now for the part most people never see, because they never keep the $50,000 long enough to see it. Charlie Munger famously said the first $100,000 is the hardest, that you should do whatever it takes to get there, because after that, compounding does the heavy lifting. Your first $50,000 is the halfway mark of the hardest stretch you will ever walk. Watch what it does if you simply stop touching it. At an 8% average return, $50,000 becomes $107,146 in 10 years, $203,48 in 20 years, $503,133 in 30 years, and $186,026 in 40 years. Read that again. $1 million from money you already have with zero additional contributions, zero side hustles, and 0 hours of extra work. The rule of 72 makes the mechanism visible. At 8%, money doubles roughly every 9 years, and each double is bigger than everything that came before it. Every future dollar you add is a bonus on top of a machine that's already running, and the machine accelerates. The first $50,000 took Carla 6 years of deliberate saving. At 8%, the account's growth alone starts approaching what her sacrifice used to produce. Somewhere in year 8 or 9, the money quietly out-earns the effort. That's the crossover most people destroy before they reach. The median American household keeps about $8,000 in transaction accounts. If you're holding $50,000, you are already carrying more investable cash than most households will ever hold at once. You've done the statistically hard part. You're standing on the launch pad, and the countdown has already started. The tragedy isn't people failing to get here. It's people getting here, looking around for what winners are supposed to buy and handing the launch pad to a dealership. There's one leak left, and it's the strangest one. $50,000 changes how you think you're supposed to act. Boomer Dad has an opinion. Real money buys property, like it's still 1988. Your millennial friend has an opinion. Park it in crypto, it's going to the moon. The teller at the bank smiles and mentions their premium relationship products. Everyone hands you a costume. Investor, homeowner, benefactor, high roller. Psychologists find that sudden money creates identity pressure, a feeling that you must now become someone who deploys money. Deploying feels like competence. Waiting feels like cowardice. The math says the opposite. Every costume comes with a bill attached. The property costume costs closing fees and a roof. The crypto costume cost early buyers an 80% drawdown in a single cycle more than once. The benefactor costume costs $6,000 and a brother who avoids eye contact. You don't need a costume. You already earned the only identity that matters. Someone who can accumulate $50,000. That is statistically rarer than a six-figure salary. The person who saved it is the same person who should guard it. Don't promote yourself into someone dumber. One costume deserves its own section because it's the most expensive one, the house you're suddenly supposed to buy. The moment your account crosses $50,000, someone will tell you that renting is throwing money away. And this is your down payment. Sometimes it's Boomer Dad, sometimes it's a coworker, sometimes it's your own reflection. Run the numbers before you join the stampede. A $50,000 down payment on a $350,000 house triggers roughly $10,000 in closing costs. Then property taxes, insurance, and maintenance that average 1 to 2% of the home's value every year. Call it $3,500 to $7,000 annually that renters never pay. If you buy before you're stable, the math gets worse. Sell within 5 years, and transaction costs of roughly 8 to 10% can erase every dollar of equity you built. Buying a house isn't wrong. Buying a house because $50,000 appeared and made you feel like it was time. That's how people convert their entire compounding engine into a roof they resent. The house test is simple. If you were already planning to buy in this city on this timeline, before the money arrived, the down payment is a fine use. If the plan appeared with the balance, it isn't a plan. It's the money talking. And the money is loud. Which brings us to the twist. Now, the twist that reframes everything you just heard. Because after all the leaks and all the math, there's still one question hanging. Why does the 70% number never improve? The information is free. The index card is public. Every year, thousands of videos explain compound interest. And every year, 7 out of 10 windfalls still evaporate. The answer is that everyone is guarding the wrong thing. You've been thinking of the $50,000 as the prize, the thing to protect, the thing that matters. It isn't. The $50,000 is the receipt, getting to your first $50,000, saving it, or even just not destroying an inherited pile for 90 days, is proof of the exact behavior that builds the next $450,000. The money was never the asset, the behavior was. Here's the counterintuitive part almost nobody says out loud. Your first $50,000 is the loudest money you will ever hold. Everyone can hear it. The salesman, the advisor, the family, your own restless brain. It's the largest sum you've ever seen next to your name, so it screams for action. But your second $50,000 is quieter. Your third is almost silent. By the time you're at $300,000, nobody's calling, nothing itches, and doing nothing feels natural. Which means the entire war for your financial life is fought in one narrow window. The first 90 days you ever hold real money. Win that window once and you never have to win it again, because the skill travels with you to every dollar that follows. Your first $50,000 doesn't test the market, it tests you. Diana failed a test she never knew she was taking. Carla passed it by refusing to pick up the pen, and here's the strange mercy in all of this. The test is pass-fail, and you only have to pass it once. Carla never had to refight the car, the folder, or the family dinner. The structure she built in one evening made every future decision automatic. Her money stopped asking her questions. Diana, meanwhile, gets tested every single month. $541 for the SUV, $410 for the policy, and the slow quiz of rebuilding from $4,118. Failing the test doesn't cost you once. It signs you up for retakes with interest. The 70% don't lose the money because they're bad at math. They lose it because nobody told them the loudest money is the money you're supposed to ignore. So here's the entire playbook, small enough to remember. The moment your first $50,000 arrives, freeze it in a high-yield account for 90 days. Tell almost no one. Let every pitch die of silence. On day 91, run the sequence. 6 months of expenses. Kill anything over 7%. Capture the match, fill the Roth, index the rest. Then go back to your life. And let the machine run toward 503, now 133. No costume, no glass office, no bonfire with seat warmers. Somewhere out there, a version of you is 19 months into the other timeline, staring at 4,118 and wondering where it went. You never have to meet that version. The entire toll for skipping that timeline is 90 days of patience and 1 evening of paperwork. Diana's story has one more chapter, by the way. She's rebuilding, $400 a month back above $11,000 now, with the sequence taped inside her kitchen cabinet. The test allows retakes. It just charges tuition. If this video showed you something you didn't know was happening with your money, subscribe to Wealth POV and hit the notification bell. We break down the hidden math behind the financial decisions you face every day. The loudest money is the money you're supposed to ignore.